Good afternoon, and a couple days late. I do apologize, but the device that I am recording this on, my laptop, updated overnight on Saturday into Sunday, and nothing worked. So we had to do a few things, and finally we got it restored back and figured out where the updated went awry. So that is why I'm able to be back with you today. And so this week, we are going to jump in with the work of the class. I asked you on Sunday to begin some preliminary research using Google to kind of get a little bit more familiar with your topic. You've probably been doing this the whole time, so you've got some information, some idea. But even if you're not quite sure yet how you feel about your topic, that's what research can help us do, is to form an opinion that then becomes an educated opinion. But I would say if you are still kind of on the fence, I would be kind of settling in to a topic certainly by the end of the week. But in addition to just the kind of general internet search, which is good for orienting us to particular issues, and can provide some valuable sources for our ultimately our argument, most of what is on the internet is actually not available through Google, and instead is held privately in databases. And so we're going to augment our research with some work from Steely Library. So if you go on to Blackboard, you will see a link called Research Guides. And this takes you to a special literacy series created by the fine folks at Steely Library, specifically for 291. I want you to go through these videos and start looking around on the Steely Library for some good, reputable, reliable sources. Particularly, look for both academic kinds of sources, but as well as newspaper, magazine articles as well, in addition to this kind of with stuff we can find out there on the general internet. So as you can see, there are more than a few videos that will help you get oriented to that. While these are kind of acting in the stead of going to Steely Library and having a librarian actually present this stuff to us. But I think that the videos are clear, not too long, and they do a rather nice job, in my opinion. So once we get our research going, we need to think about our coming assignments. As I outlined earlier in the course, we will have 4 major writing assignments, really, with the 5th one being kind of a reflection. But we'll have first an annotated bibliography, which will be your 16 sources, a combination of general internet sources as well as scholarly and magazine sources from Steely Library. We will then look at that sample and that annotated bibliography and choose a genre of a style of writing, such as newspaper articles, scholarly journals, YouTube videos. That's kind of meta, and so on, to analyze and see how these genres contribute to the overall conversation or the piece of the conversation that we found doing our research. We will then synthesize that research in the form of a narrative research report, which you talk us through not only your findings but your procedure in finding these sources. And finally, to an argument in which you assert a point of view about your topic. In other words, you're asking us to think about it in this particular way. So let me kind of wrap this up by talking a little bit about the annotated bibliography, what it is and what it is not. Now, on this surface, an annotated bibliography looks very much like a works cited page in MLA. It has bibliographic entries. That sounds you hear as a train. They are arranged alphabetically. But here's the difference between a works cited page and an annotated bibliography. A works cited page is the last thing your reader encounters in your text after you have written your paper. And it is a catalog of the sources that actually appear in the paper. An annotated bibliography, on the other hand, precedes the paper. It is the research gathered for a paper to be written. And so, because the paper has not been written, the annotated bibliography is a catalog of these sources consulted. So sources you found that may not end up in the final paper, but you looked at them. At some point, they were perhaps going to end up there. And so that is a key difference and an important one to understanding what else an annotated bibliography is and how it differs from a works cited page. So because it precedes the paper, it is a standalone piece of academic work. So it's not literally attached to anything. So how do we then make it understandable for an audience that, well, probably may not be around for our actual paper? We do a few things that are kind of hallmarks of an annotated bibliography. First, we provide an abstract. An abstract for an annotated bibliography is essentially a longish summary that tells the reader why these sources were collected, what we were going to do with them, and ultimately presents a thesis for our work. An annotated bibliography also, for each source, summarizes that source, major findings, prominent themes, and so on, while also evaluating that source in terms of rhetorical success, genre and discourse, and usefulness to the work that we are undertaking. So while we sometimes think of works cited pages as that last thing we have to knock out before we turn the paper in and we're done, and it serves a very important function in terms of our credibility, we can really think of an annotated bibliography as a kind of pre-writing. After all, you are summarizing and evaluating each of the sources you find. And the act of writing that down means that you've read and reread, essentially, those sources. So you'll already, through the act of the annotated bibliography, be organizing what you will use, what you might use, and what was probably just a good title, and then is an article that does actually nothing that you need it to do. So annotated bibliographies are an excellent way to pre-write, to begin to think about how to develop research into not only a report, but an argument, and begin to see how these sources, rhetorically, generically, contribute to the conversation about your topic. And that will be the next place we go with this. But for right now, let's begin collecting those 16 sources. Again, I apologize for this being late. I do not anticipate we will have any further glitches. Cross fingers and toes. And my cat crossing paws. So we'll see. But have a great week. And I will be posting a lot more on this in addition to this video today. Take care, guys.